Welcome back. Yes, we're starting on that note this morning, and as you've seen there, we're talking to Hauwa Atiku-Uwais, who is the chairperson, National Strategic Committee for PDP's New Generation. So she joins us virtually, so we'll just get right to it this morning. Good morning, Hauwa. Thank you for joining us on the program today. Can you hear us? Let's just check on that one.
Yes. Good morning. Yes. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Okay,
can you hear
loud and clear. All right. So glad you could join us on the program today. Well, we do know that there's cash crunch everywhere, but you have to have cash. I mean, your dad is campaigning, so he's campaigning with a lot of cash. You're not short of cash, are you?
I don't know. You would have to ask him that question.
I expect it will trickle down. I mean, the dad cannot afford to let the children go without cash, can he?
His children. I am a baker. I own my own business. I employ Nigerians just like me. And I strive my best to ensure that I have the cash that I need to support my father in his ambition.
Just on a lighter note, actually. So tell us, I mean, how does it feel? Your dad has been campaigning. Wait a minute, isn't that about 30 years now?
Actually, more than. He's been
wow.
Politics. Yeah, he's been in politics since 1988. And we've been contending with that most of our lives.
It must have been mixed feelings. I'm sure that at some point, the family might have told him, Dad, what's all this? Why don't you just let this go? If they don't want you, let it go.
Well, it's not so much the case of if they don't want you, because we personally believe that he has sacrificed a lot for Nigeria in his personal and political career. He has once stepped down in 1992 for the betterment of Nigeria. In 2003 also, he stepped down to allow then President Olusegun Obasanjo to continue a second term for the betterment of Nigeria. So for us, it's not a case of they don't want you. Nigerians want my father, and he wants to leave a legacy for Nigerians. That is the desire and the passion for him.
So why is this particular campaign? What makes it any different from the previous campaigns?
Well, I think for us, it's that Nigerians have tasted both parties, the PDP and the APC, and they're able to compare and contrast and to see what kind of leadership they yearn for in the country. So this campaign season is particularly different in that regard.
Has anybody ever asked you, why is new generation, I mean PDP new generation, not, they would expect that, well, should support a new generation candidate in terms of what, age or something? Does that ever come up in your conversations you might have had previously?
Yes, of course. I mean, the PDP New Generation is a group of very young Nigerians that came together to sit down and say, listen, who are we going to support? Who are we going to support going into the 2023 elections? And we started this since 2022. And we came up, after calling for better candidates to present themselves after what we've seen of the APC. We waited for the primaries to happen. We gave each candidate our support at the primaries. We were not particular on any candidate. We wanted the PDP to field the candidate they felt would be best presented to Nigerians, who would stand a better chance of winning against an incumbent party. And they produced Alhaji Atiku-Abubakar, and we threw our support behind him. And we're proud of him. He has engaged the young people. We're young. We're between the ages of 28 to 40, most of us. And he has engaged us continuously in his campaign. And we're particularly happy with the positions that he wants to offer to young people when he eventually emerges the winner this Saturday.
Well, it would have been interesting if you were not going to support your dad. That certainly would have made news. I mean, I think it would have been taken for granted, or it should be taken for granted, that, of course, I mean, daughters usually are close to their fathers, and, you know, they would be supporting their fathers. I don't know how this is going to pan out for you, because I know that, I mean, as you said, this is something that you're already used to. I mean, your father has been running for at least 30 years, if not more, of your life. And you've had to deal with his successes, his disappointments, etc. But you've also mentioned that you are now an entrepreneur by yourself. I mean, you're not just providing for your own family, but you're also, you know, an employer of labor for a number of Nigerians. And I'm wondering for you, as an entrepreneur, because for a number of people, they think that the economy is one of the important parts of, you know, one of the important parts of this particular elections. What major difference are you hoping that if your father is elected president, that he will be able to make a difference to, especially considering the fact that you are also, you know, well, I say a businesswoman? What major areas are you hoping that he will be able to have an effect on?
Okay, so of course you and I know that a lot of things are not manufactured in Nigeria, and this is solely because most of our industries are dead, really. So one of the things that I think will be most important for him to focus on is the industrialization of most of our industries. Before I started using local farmers to procure my milk for the production of one of the products that I do, called gelato, I had to contend with buying fresh milk that was imported into the country. And this is not for the lack of cows we have in Nigeria. It is just simply for the lack of implementation of policies that can enable farmers to produce milk in huge quantities to supply the populace. So definitely industrialization must come into place for him. And I know that that is very important for him, because in his covenant with Nigerians, he has consistently spoken about industrialization and privatization. When you open up the space for the private sector to come in, then we have industries that can work, industries that generate money and pay taxes to the government, that enable the government to take care of its own business, diverting from the typical oil industry insatiation, basically, for me.
There are those who say that, you know, there is actually a major difference between liberalization and privatization. Privatization oftentimes refers to the sale of government assets, because they think that oftentimes government has no business in business. Liberalization, on the other hand, opens up the space to allow more private sector players come into a particular space that perhaps only government had been holding a monopoly for quite a while. I'm just wondering, you know, for privatization, this liberalization and privatization are not terms that will be strange to your father, in terms of, you know, some of the policies that himself and President Obasanjo implemented when, you know, he was vice president, 1999 to 2007. And there have been some criticism about how some of the privatization ventures went. When you listen to some of these things, what are some of the responses? I do not know how privy you were to them when people say, oh, look, privatization, government assets were sold to their friends and their cronies, and some of them are not working. For instance, Nitel is still not up and running today. I think they tried to privatize NEPA at the time. They tried to start, it didn't quite work. I think the Jonathan administration completed that, and we're still not where we want to be with regards to electricity. When you think about situations like that, do you really think that it is really privatization that we need to be focusing on? Because these are some of the things that your father is, you know, also, you know, selling in his manifesto. He thinks that the NNPC, for instance, should be privatized. Would you say that privatization is really the way to go, or that we need to have a stronger government presence in terms of regulation, you know, looking at what is really going on within certain sectors?
So privatization and liberalization, as you've explained, I think for me, go hand in hand. And first things first, I'd like to clear the air. So privatization worked under the Olusegun Obasanjo administration because it was handled by the head of the privatization committee, which was Malam Nasir El-Rufai. And I think that for the most part, it was successful. As humans, of course, we would look at some other examples and, we would see that this didn't work here and this didn't work there. For the things that didn't work, successive governments could have implemented and ensured that they worked. For me, I think that liberalization and privatization will open up the space for public-private partnership with government and will enable government to concentrate on what government needs to concentrate on, which is regularization and implementation and creating the enabling environment for businesses to thrive. Once the economy is open, I think that you and I will see a fantastic difference. And my father, of course, is a champion for that. He has said it over and over again in his campaigns over the years, and he hasn't changed.
Let me ask you about this. I mean, only recently, your father had cause to meet with, stakeholders in Rivers State here in Abuja. And I know that one of the things that he's been talking about very importantly in his campaign is unity. He continues to emphasize that he would like to see a more united Nigeria. I'm wondering, for you, when you look at what has happened with the G5 governors, I don't know how much into politics you are, but I mean, of course, every Nigerian will have their opinion as to what has happened within the PDP. When you look at what has happened with the G5 governor and the fact that they were not able to agree and reconcile ahead of those polls, what are your thoughts?
For me, I like to leave party affairs to party people. The G5 governors have stated what their minds are, and the party has stated its position. And I think that first things first, no person under the constitution of a party or a group of individuals that meet for a common purpose should be guided by the rules and regulations of that particular group. And if you believe that you have other opinions, then that is your take. But for me, I like to stay away from party politics. I deal with normal Nigerians like me, citizens who want the best for their country, and I continue to sell my product, who is Atiku-Abubakar.
What do you say to a lot of young people who, many of them have left this country because of how things are run? Many still planning to leave this country after the elections if their candidate don't win. And many of them think that they like to vote for somebody different, not any of members of the older parties, because they've seen how they've run things and the economy is still where it is at the moment. So they feel they want something new. What can you tell those people? Because you are campaigning for your father, who is a candidate of the PDP.
Okay, so first things first, I know that there are three that are contending for the presidency of Nigeria. I know that there's the PDP, there's the APC, and there's the Labour Party. So let me burst a bubble. The Labour Party candidate is not a newbie. He has been in politics as well. He has been in politics since 1999 as well. And he has been in the PDP. In 2019, he ran on the same ticket with my father, preaching the gospel and manifesto of my father, Atiku-Abubakar. So he's not a newbie. We need to understand that, and we need to get that right. But for the young people that are planning to leave, I say that you should try and get into the system. Try and see how you can get the system to work for you. And when I say that, I say that with, utmost humility. I have my children that have left in Abuja to come and be in the state that I was born and raised, so that I can be with my constituents and speak with them and preach to them on how Atiku-Abubakar intends to make life better for Nigerians. You don't sit down in an AC room and expect automatically that things will start to work. You have to push yourself in. You have to make yourself relevant, and you have to ensure that the people that you're working with or for understand the stake that you're bringing in and expecting. So I would urge them, it's still not too late. Take a stance, get in position, and work for what you believe in. And when it doesn't work, then you have the audacity to open your mouth and challenge authority and say that, listen, we believed in you because you made these promises, but you're not fulfilling them. And you have the right to challenge them in court. You have the right to recall them from their wards. We don't use those avenues. As Nigerians, we feel that if we vote for someone, we must allow that person to stay there forever. It's not true. The Constitution allows us to challenge the performance of every politician that we put in there. So why are we not using those avenues?
All right, let's bring in our colleagues from Lagos.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Madam, let me stay with that question that you just responded to and ask, but, generally, and over the years, even before this Fourth Republic began, it would seem like things have just degraded progressively. So it's not the first time, for instance, that we're having a massive exodus from Nigeria by young people. And it's happened before, it is happening now. And what's to say it will not happen again? Now, for those whom you are appealing to now, and of course it's a patriotic thing to do, the challenge then would be, how do we really persuade them, given the realities that they have to confront on a daily basis? People have been left universities for a very long time, for many years, even from maybe sometimes even since 1999, 2000, 2003 and thereabout. They still didn't have a job. Many have done untoward things and made it, and they are still struggling because they want to remain patriotic. They don't have livelihoods to live by. Many have lost businesses because of policies of government over the years, not just in this administration alone. How do we persuade a people whose hope has been dissipated to remain hopeful and committed and patriotic to Nigeria?
So this is it's a deep question. I'm not going to be on TV and just say anything. But for me, I try to read and I try to get into a very intelligent mode, so to say, on the perspective of how I want Nigeria to be. I'll give you a very, very clear example. Atiku-Abubakar's covenant with Nigerians has been a document that has been out for months. But many of the young people that I engage, many of these graduates that have been out of school without jobs, many of these graduates that want to start their businesses, many of these graduates that just want to survive, have not taken the chance or the time to read through his plan for Nigeria. We move, in a bandwagon. My friend is going to this party. I go with my friend. I don't know why I'm going with my friend. This is a problem for us young people. We don't take the time to find out, to look for information, to use the information available to us to our benefit. Most of these countries that young people jump up to, they have systems that work. They have systems where young people are able to call to order elected officials. They have systems where they are able to question health officials if they treat them badly. But we don't have a system that works. And for us to get a system that works, we have to be involved. I would want a better life. I would want a better life for myself and my children. But I believe also that I am able to contribute my own quota to Nigeria. And if this is one of the ways that I start, by politically engaging young people to understand why Atiku-Abubakar wants to be the president, I am more than happy to do my own bit. So I would urge them to exercise some patience and to gain knowledge and information that will be used so they can vote wisely and so that they can be able to understand the kind of country they want for themselves.
So, Hauwa, just as we wind down on this now, could you tell us, I mean, when you, in the opening, you said that he had to step down for former President Obasanjo to go for second term. And many are wondering, whoa, what was that? They thought that tradition in Nigerians, they always go for second term. What was that about?
Well, I mean, I think he expressed his ambition to run for the presidency, and his boss expressed his own ambition to continue. And at that point, he felt for the betterment of Nigeria, I would allow my boss and step down my own ambition, and that there would be time in the future where I can express myself to Nigerians.
All right, then, Hauwa Atiku-Uwais, thank you very much indeed for your time today. All the best.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
All right, so we will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.